What is up, guys? It's Tephrite here, and today it is a sad day to be a Spider-Man main. So for those of you guys that don't know, and don't follow my Twitch stream, I actually got access to the early access servers for season 1, so I was able to tinker around with Spider-Man and some other characters and see what has been changed, essentially. And yeah, safe to say, for those of you guys that do follow me on Twitter, you probably have seen this.
Those are bad guys.
Which is basically me tweeting out saying Spider-Man can no longer animation cancel his overhead slam with his uppercut, or the amazing combo. Which means that unfortunately, a big chunk of his damage is now gone. So for those of you guys that don't actually know what that is, Spider-Man has an overhead when he double jumps and uses mouse 1 or primary fire. And then he could also cancel this damage with uppercut. So you could actually get the damage out at the exact same time, which means you get some insane burst coming out at the same time. Unfortunately, this doesn't work anymore. This is damage for the overhead. As you can see, it's like 2 bars. And if we go for the uppercut damage, that's like just over 2 bars too. But if we were to do them together, it's just over 2 bars, which is, you know, the uppercut damage. Now, you can still do it pretty slowly. You can do them individually, so the damage does come out, but it's a lot slower than it was before. The interesting thing about all this, the other day, yesterday actually, the balance post was released, and there were no changes to Spider-Man. There was actually a buff to some of his counters, like no more. But there was no mention of Spider-Man anywhere here, which was kind of interesting. I don't know why, which begs the question, really, that this was actually a bug. At least that's what I thought. So I thought, you know what? The patch notes, the full patch notes where they talk about bug fixes and all that stuff, that's coming out today. So I'll wait to make this video until that comes out.
They're headed our way.
And so the patch notes came out, and for some reason, once again, Spider-Man is nowhere to be seen. There is one change. Actually, if I type in Spider-Man, here you go. There's one change here regarding this one: resolved occasional synchronization issue for Venom and Spider-Man after swinging and wall crawling. Now, as you guys know, from what I just demonstrated, there's no swinging involved. There is, I mean, I guess you can consider this the swinging, because you do the swing cancel to get the overhead, but we're doing it even just without the swinging, and damage is still not coming out. Spider-Man isn't the only one who has this sort of damage stacking sort of capabilities, or at least had this sort of damage stacking capabilities. There were also other characters in the roster that have this kind of a thing, but I'll talk about that later on in the video. So yeah, we've gone through the patch notes. It's not there. So the question is this actually going to be going through live? Some of you might be thinking, oh, he's on 140 ping. Maybe it's the ping. No, I've also tested this, and I'm able to do this on ping because I'm connected currently only to American servers or NA servers. And when I go on live, I can still do this on NA servers. So there's no difference there. But the reason why a lot of the Spidey community is so up in arms, I've seen Necros talk about this. I've seen Fame talk about this now. Yeah, the reason that this is so important is because there's just so many use cases for this kind of damage. First off, it's free damage anytime, right? If you're just jumping in, there you go, free damage, swing out. It's free damage anytime, even if you're just like swinging in. Boom. You get out, you know? It's a lot of free damage, essentially. Another scenario that I used to use it a lot in, but if I throw a tracer in, I pull them in, I do double jump, and I do that at the animation cancel. And that animation cancels damage is insane and almost guarantees the kill if I land the pull. Which, to be honest, I feel like it should do that kind of damage. I mean, if you look at Winter Soldier, right? He lands his hook on a squishy. That's a guaranteed kill right there. You get this, you do the freaking dash right afterwards. That's a guaranteed kill. So why not? Why should Spider-Man have it there? Another use case that I used to use it a lot on was blind characters. You know, if you didn't have your pull, you do that. And that's a lot of damage. That's probably like, that's more than half their health gone. And then you can even time that in with the symbiote damage if you end up having. But we'll talk about symbiote damage actually later on, because that's going to be a lot. It's going to be very important to think about. Now, if you guys have watched my Advanced Spider-Man video, Advanced Spider-Man tech guide, sorry, should I say, I actually talked about this combo called the bread and butter combo. At least that's what I called it. We got the cluster into the get over here, do the swing cancel into the overhead and into the uppercut. But now this is what the damage is, which means it doesn't kill 250 HP targets. That's actually 200 damage there. So unfortunately, the combo that I spoke about a lot in that video doesn't actually work anymore. So the weird thing is, this isn't a balance fix. This isn't a bug fix. This is just a change that's gone under the radar. Now, there is still hope, and I'm wondering if maybe this isn't actually going through into the new patch because it wasn't talked about. The devs haven't really spoken about it at all. I've tried pinging them. Haven't really mentioned anything at all about it. But yeah, the reason that I think this is such a big deal, besides all the use cases that I've shown earlier, is that in low elo it's not that big of a deal. Let's be realistic here. But as you climb the ranks, the reactions of players is just insanely fast. You go in on somebody and they're immediately gonna get healed. Burst damage is the meta, which is also one of the reasons why Hela and Hawkeye were just so good, because they just do so much burst damage so consistently. And unfortunately, in high elo, there's a lot more sustain because people are healing. Their uptime is a lot more and a lot higher. So burst damage is super important. Now, unfortunately, they've taken away the burst damage from Spider-Man. Now, Spider-Man already had arguably the lowest damage from a duelist in the game. I could be wrong, which is, to be expected because I'm an assassin. Assassin's characters don't tend to have high damage numbers. I mean, even if you look at like counterparts like, in Overwatch, for example, like Genji, Tracer, these characters don't have high damage, but they have high impact. They have high final blows, high elims, that's where their value comes from, if we're really going into the nitty-gritty about the stats here. But yeah, Spider-Man required and really relied on this lethality that he had, this short window of opportunity, because he's also one of the only melee characters that doesn't get any overhealth. Black Panther gets overhealth, which actually got nerfed this patch. Magic gets overhealth. Iron Fist gets overhealth. The only time Spider-Man gets overhealth is when he pops his ult. You can argue that Wolverine doesn't get overhealth, but Wolverine also gets damage reduction from his E. So Spider-Man is the only one who doesn't have that. The only thing he can rely on is his mobility, to be in and out quick, do his damage and get out. So he can't be in the fight for very long. So now taking away his burst from that small amount of time which you are in the fight is kind of crucial. At least I think it is, and I feel like a lot of Spider players already think it is. Now the question is, should he have it? Now it is an animation cancel, right? And I guess you can argue there's no real counterplay to it from the other end, which is, you just get hit by one ability, but you actually get hit twice. You could argue there's no real counterplay to it. My argument would be that you let him in close enough to do his damage. You didn't punish him, or you got hit by the hook. You deserve to take the damage then, because you've been outplayed. That's my take on it, at least. But yeah, he's also a 5-star character, the hardest character in this game, and you can see that from his pick rates. Luna Snow is a 20% pick rate right now. If we scroll all the way down, Spider-Man's got a 4% pick rate, very low. Now we go up into the higher ranks, right? Doctor Strange is a 34% pick rate. Luna Mantis sitting comfortably at above 20%, same with Magneto. We scroll all the way down, and Lonely Spider-Man is at 2.4% pick rate. 2.4% at a 49% win rate too. Especially for a character like Spider-Man. Now, you could argue that his pick rate and win rate is so low because he's such a hard character to play. Sure. So then I would then argue, wouldn't you also want these hard characters to have these intricate techs that, once you learn them, they, people feel rewarded for being able to pull this kind of stuff off? Why lower the skill ceiling? Why remove this kind of tech and this kind of knowledge that, rewards the Spider-Man community? I mean, the Spider-Man community loves that kind of stuff. Like, you can see so many tech videos online, so many people saying, oh my God, look, I pulled this off. After making that video, people coming into my Discord and telling me that they're able to, do this tech, that tech. It's so rewarding and everybody loves doing it. So I don't see why they would remove it from at least a Spider-Man's player's perspective. Now, we were talking about melee heroes earlier, and there is an animation cancel I wanted to talk about. And that is from Magic. So a lot of people probably have seen this a lot. So you can damage stack your teleport with your whirlwind and into your dash. And that is actually probably the same amount of damage that the uppercut overhead damage does.
I hope there's only 2.
Yeah, okay, actually it's more than that. And it's also, I guess you could say it's arguably it's AoE. So is Spider-Man's uppercut AoE. Magic's is bigger. That's fine. It also gives her overhealth, by the way. But we don't need to talk about that. We don't need to talk about that. So as you can see, there are other characters which do have this kind of stuff and really benefit for it. You can see Magic players using this kind of tech all the time and it helps them out so much. But for some reason, they're taking it away from Spider-Man. Now, I'm not here advocating to take it away from Magic. I think these kind of tech on especially melee characters in a shooter game should exist. These characters are, you know, undeniably harder to play than any other like ranged character in this game. Why make it even harder and remove these sort of intricate things that the players can learn to make them play better? So now, what does this mean for Spider-Man? Now, I've kind of spoken about this already, that we're way, way less lethal than before. And essentially, if you think about it, Spider-Man just ends up playing, well, without his ultimate, of course. Spider-Man in the neutral game just ends up playing like a squishy Vanguard. You're going in, you're either trying to get a hook on somebody, maybe you're trying to displace them, maybe make them force an ability to use, maybe even take space, maybe contest high ground off of the Hela or something, you know? Just try and contest high ground, you know? You play like a Vanguard. Like, the way I look at it is you almost play like a Hulk with a hook. You play it so strangely. And I get that Duelist isn't meant to be DPS, sure, but this is sort of like his lethality is gone, and now he's not really, he has no, like, his carry potential has now been hit quite hard. At least that's how I feel. So you kind of get the worst of both worlds. You're not tanky like a Vanguard, and you're also you don't have the lethality like a Duelist. So kind of worst of both worlds there. Unfortunately, now this also means that Spider-Man relies even more on Venom. The Venom team up is what makes Spider-Man insanely good, but now there's no middle ground, unfortunately. His combos were different when you did have the Venom team up, but there's no middle ground now. Now, Venom did get buffed this patch. It was a slight buff. They did touch his overhealth, so he gets a bit more overhealth. I don't think it was too much of a buff to warrant any increase in pick rate. Maybe just to test the things out and then just probably go back to how it was, to be honest. But either way, I don't think making a character viable through their team up is a good idea. Why would you make a character rely on a team up to be good? There was some argument here with Iron Man and how Iron Man was only really good with the Hulk team up, because there's just so many counters to him. Obviously, when you get into high elo, you're able to ban out Hela, Hawkeye, maybe even Star-Lord if you really, really wanted to. But yeah, the character just suffered so much without the team up, and then with the team up, they can do things. At least Spider-Man can one shot every 30 seconds then with the team up. But there's no middle ground. There's no neutral game, and that's what makes it really, really boring, at least in my opinion. So in my opinion, we can talk about how do we combat this, right? Now, if this nerf does end up going into the game, what do we do? Now, the combos are still basic. You can still do the basic combo, which is the better and butter combo that I spoke about earlier, with the cluster to get over here, swing cancel, overhead, to uppercut. You can still do it, but it just comes out a lot slower. Obviously, in high elo, you're probably going to get punished if you're waiting for the entire thing to cost there. Usually in high elo, by the time you have your get over here on them, they're already looking at you. So if you're not able to execute your damage fast enough, you're getting stunned, you're getting slapped, you're getting headshot, you're getting, you know, some sort of reaction is gonna happen, and you're not gonna be able to do anything about it. Now, what I would do is switch it around. Instead of going for the overhead beforehand, you now go for it after the uppercut. So you actually do a cluster to get over here, uppercut, swing cancel, into overhead. Now, if you did it pretty quickly, you could still do it, you know, pretty quick, but not as fast as the other one. But yeah, here's the combo. You could probably even do it faster than that. So there's still some leeway. Obviously, this is 250 HP targets. It'll be a bit different. You could even arguably throw in a web cluster there, just so you get some extra damage off if you really, really wanted to. You could also arguably do the overhead into a web cluster into an uppercut for more HP targets. So there's a few different kind of combos that you can do. They're all a lot slower than the bread and butter combo, unfortunately. But yeah, I didn't want to leave you guys without a combo because, you know, Spider-Man got nerfed. I made a tech guide like 5 days ago. Unfortunately, like a couple days before the nerf came out onto early access servers. So yeah, but I wanted to leave you guys with this so you guys can have something to practice. The other combos still work. You know, if you were to go for the tank busting combo that I spoke about in my video. That one still works. You know, the double overhead still works. So that's fine. Don't worry about that. But yeah, that's all I've got for you guys. All we can do is sit and pray for tomorrow that Spider-Man gets his overhead stack damage back. And if he doesn't, then we're going to be lower accurate Spider-Man. All they want to do is see a hero fail and fall, die trying. The words of Green Goblin. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the new season. Peace out, guys.